are you doing consulting on the side, like while you're working with Unreal
I
Daily?
am. Yeah, I opened up just like a few slots. I want to be able to there's so much expansion happening in the plant-based space despite the millions of dollars being spent to tell people otherwise. So, yeah, I just wanted to like figure out a few hours in my day where I can help support this, communal growth that's happening because I don't see it as a zero sum game. I mean, there's so much room to play. We have 1.7% market penetration. There's so much room to grow. So I want to be able to be available to really support that and doing that. Not even just with brands, but like organizations, VCs. There's a lot of companies that are curious to get into the plant-based sandbox, but don't really know what that means or what to look for. So I've been in it for 15 years. I want to be able to share that perspective, experience, and ideally help guide the right people together to create some prosperity. And yeah,
Yeah. What got you started in the plant-based industry?
I mean, for me, it was personal. I've transitioned or started transitioning into veganism. Well, I didn't know it was going to be veganism in 2006. And it was very much just a personal choice within just who I am, how I show up in the world, who I want to be, the kind of world I want to see, that kind of a thing. And this was way before it was fun and tasty, like rural Maryland. It was not great. So it was very much just personal, and then there wasn't even an industry in the sense that there is now. But I've always been a storyteller, and that has taken many different forms from television screenwriting. I was in entertainment for 15 years, both as on-screen talent as an actor as well as a screenwriter. I still do that on the side. I say it's a habit I just can't quit. so, um, so yeah, and then just getting into marketing it kind of started as I think it was I was still in college, just doing promo teams. Honestly, is how I got started. Just doing the sampling and the demos and all of that, and then that just kind of kept growing. And at that time, I was working for 12 different agencies probably, and didn't really get to choose what clients I was working with. But then after a few years, I got my career to a point where I could say no comfortably. And I'll never forget, I won't say the brand, but I remember specifically which brand was my last brand that I worked for that I would rather not. And then I was like, and I'm done. And now it is just brands and people ideally that are in alignment. So yeah, so that's the long and long of it.
You worked for 12 agencies at once?
Yeah, just staffing agencies initially. And I was never at full time, at least. I was never at like a full time ad agency or anything like that. But yeah, I really love the boots on the ground, like in the field kind of work. So I was managing, nationwide tours for different car companies at one point. I was team lead for all the in the field activations for Gardein when they launched into the US market, which is a plant based protein, one of the earlier ones. So yeah, I enjoy that a lot. I like being live as much as possible. And I like being remote as well, kind of for the same reason. There's a lot of flexibility. So I think one of my greatest strengths is as a relationship builder. So much comes from who we're with, who we're talking to, who we're moving through the world with. So I love to be always doing that. And that is more possible. Sorry, my kitten is going to want to get involved in this conversation as much as possible.
Guest featured soon. That's awesome. And I could tell from your, just our chat before this that you seem to have a passion on realistic expectations that marketing is a multifaceted aspect, or kind of like omni-channel marketing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I actually really want to stress that. What I've found to be a pain point for a lot of maybe first time entrepreneurs, early entrepreneurs, is this confusion between marketing and sales being the same thing, or that marketing is this, magic button. And we're going to like push this one element that like somehow nobody else is doing. And that's going to be the thing that skyrockets you to the top. That's not generally how it works. I'll compare it to dating, honestly. Like if you think of, and of course, this is all generalities. We all operate differently as individuals, but generally speaking, when you go on a first date with somebody, or not even a date, you've met them for the first time, you've connected, you're talking, whether it's on an app or at a bar or at an event, wherever, you're not going to then go get married. Probably.
Propose. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The
There's
Christian
TV shows about
college,
that, but that's a different conversation.
the Christian college mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think it's important to look at it that way. There's a concept of 7 touches in marketing. Like, people need to really hear from you or hear about you, or see you or whatever it is, about 7 times, ideally 7 different ways. And then you become just this comfortable familiarity. And most people, I mean, look, there's early adopters who want to do the next best thing, and those are an important component as well. The major part of your demographic are not going to be those people, and they're going to want to feel comfortable. So yeah, you'll get those early adopters, but they're not going to necessarily drive your sustainability. They will help you get into the conversation so that the rest of the population who's waiting for that familiarity to pop in feels that way. And so you do that with lots of different tools.
Yeah, and the way you go about marketing too. So we've worked with one specific sustainability brand out of Australia, and we saw the most growth from them when we focused on education, familiarization, and normalization in our content. And we're just talking Facebook ads with this one strategy, but we would run ads that were 1 to 2 minute clips of like Channel 9, Channel 10 News, which is their national networks, in studio introduction, in the field reporting, back to in studio. And we saw, you know, like $5 to $8 cost per acquisition on those ads, mainly because it was focusing on educating people and letting them know about the brand. It wasn't just going straight into like, buy this product. This is a new sustainability product, right? It really helped normalize it and educate people to it.
Yeah. Generally, people aren't interested in being advertised to.
Yeah.
Now more than ever.
Yeah.
So the more organic you can be with your messaging, the better. And I always like to say, I'm in marketing, I'm not in sales. I don't sell anything. I introduce people to things. I get into conversations, right? I create conversations, or I enter a conversation already in play, and add to it, right? It's the key that I think you just shared is being additive, right? Education, familiarity, like it's all additive to somebody's experience that's already occurring, right? Instead of being like, hey, we're going to like change your whole life with this thing. Like, no, it's like, hey, like, you're up to some cool stuff. Here's an additive element for you. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And especially with sustainability brands, because a lot of times those brands are disruptors. So they're having to, you know, fit their product into someone's daily life or reposition how people are doing things. And that will especially come in. I had somebody on the podcast recently that was here talking about just subscription models. And that it comes in with a subscription model as well, because a lot of times there can be drop off because they may say, you know, too much product, but maybe it's they don't know how to use the product, or they're not keeping the routine to use the product. And I believe the brand you're working in right now, subscription model is one of the key elements. Is that fair to say?
We do have, we have an e-commerce. Like, we're also available in retail, and we're launching back into food service now that things are, I guess, normalizing the new normal. But yes, we do have e-com, and we do have a subscription option as well that gives you like basically like a discount for having a regular, you know, purchase at your cadence.
Very cool. Also, and what's like when you're going into a sustainability startup, and it could be, you know, Unreal Deli, the one you're at now, or just a, you know, a client in general. As we're thinking about omnichannel marketing and, you know, spreading the whole gamut there, what are your key focus areas when you come into a brand to see where they're at and where their opportunities are?
Sure. Let me think about that for a second. So I think it's a few different angles I'm looking at. I'm very interested from a different sort of sustainability standpoint on how it is they are funding their marketing efforts. I think that's another element that I've seen is that that tends to be the easiest thing for newer companies to not really think about for some reason, depending on what sector they're coming from. But having a sustainable model for your marketing, because you can expand your footprint as fast as you want, sell. But if you don't have a plan that supports the robust velocity of your brand in those established retail partners, like whatever, you know, wherever you're at, it's not going to make a difference because you can lose them just as quick as you can book them. So having a plan in place for, kind of a proof of concept, I recommend like picking a few key, retail partners, whatever it is, to launch in, test out your marketing strategy, make sure it's driving lift, make sure it's, approvable things, over like a quarter, and then go from there. I think it's really easy to get caught up in sell, sell, sell. It feels really good. It releases really yummy chemicals. So I get it. And I want to support the continuation of that. And I can't do that if there is no funding or plan in place. There's only so many times you can ask for favors and things like that. So being realistic about goals, I think, is key as well. Exactly what is it that you're looking for from whichever campaign or campaigns you're running? What are your specific KPIs so you know whether or not it's successful or not, and where to adjust if you're not hitting some of them. Am I answering your question? I'm sorry.
No, you are. And that is very interesting because my frame of mind with it goes, straight to digital because that's where we mainly work in. And I see you talking, I'm going to say on the offline space, but in the retail space. And that's very interesting because I see the same thing with digital where companies will feel the need to have every organic social channel. And yes, we're only spending $7,000 to $10,000 a month on Facebook ads, but maybe we should also be doing TikTok and trying to put their, brand in too many areas instead of just focusing on scaling well and profitably in the channels that are working. And it sounds like, if I heard you correctly, that can happen in retail as well, or that's what you sometimes see in retail as well, is trying to go to too many locations.
Whether you're in the digital universe or the real universe or any of the many multiverses that exist. It's age old for a reason, quality over quantity, right? ROAS, I think, is a much more important number than how many people you're reaching. Like I'm getting hit with ads all day that mean nothing to me. Great job wasting your money. Like that's not spaghetti at all. It's not, I'm all about efficiency personally. That's how I like to operate. So I would rather test stuff, move smarter rather than faster. I don't know. Call me crazy.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I guess the follow-up question that I would have is, how can brands understand where to prioritize their budget mix? And I'll go ahead and say, as I say often, we're speaking in generalities, and that's not often good because every business is different, right? But how do you go about measuring the offline versus online budget split that way?
I mean, I think there's a lot of ways you can get creative about it. There's a lot of different companies who want to work with you, and they all give out free consultation calls, and they will provide you with case studies. And that's a great way I have found to gather information, what works, what doesn't, for comp brands, comp companies that are doing things that you're looking to do and have done it well in certain areas. And talking to people. I mean, there's consultants who are happy to share information and, best practices from their experience. And I think it's important as well, if you're going to work with, someone like me in a consultancy framework, it's important to have a few voices. It's experiential, a lot of it. And there's certainly, I don't want to call them rules, but there's things that are widely appropriate, I guess. And at the same time, it's really good to have a few different viewpoints and perspectives and experiences advising you as you're building that plan.
Yeah, and that comes into VCs as well. One thing that I was talking with a brand that had taken on funding, and I was saying, one day I'd like to build a SaaS product and have funding for that. And the question they asked me immediately after was, what qualities are you looking for in VCs to make up for your inefficiencies? And I was like, I never thought of it that way before, because they were saying, they had one VC that helped them build a factory and, and staff it and organize it. They had another VC that helped them scale to a new country. And so I imagine that comes in not just with consultants, but, VCs as well.
Yeah, any partnerships, really, right? Like, that's why I go back to, what are your goals, right? Like, everyone wants to build a successful company and sell a lot of product. That's not a goal. That's like, what is your specific goal right now? What is something that you think this person or this partner or this company whatever it is going to add to your journey. What are you looking for right now? The more specific you can get, honestly, in a sense, the more granular you can get with your needs, I think the more impactful anyone that you connect with can be for you. It is a lot harder for me to help someone as effectively as I am committed to helping people who work with me when they're not really sure what beyond I want to make money is.
Yeah.
So then I'll have to spend, maybe half of our session or sessions honing in with them on what is it exactly that you're looking for, so I can make sure I'm giving you useful information.
And you see that in the sustainability space as well.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere. Look, we're all incredibly creative people who want to have an impact on the world.
Mhm.
Some of us have more experience in the sectors that we're launching into than others. And I don't think there's anything wrong with getting into a space that you're not as familiar with, as long as you are not only comfortable, but like exuberant in asking for support and help of people that have been in that space longer than you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, going back to our conversation on education with marketing for sustainability companies, let's talk about like relying on your brand mission, because I see in the non-sustainability space, brands can oftentimes have struggles with establishing their core values and their messaging stance, and understanding who they're trying to reach through their messaging, not just necessarily this is our product, this is its features, this is what it does, right? I feel like sustainability brands have, I don't want to say an advantage, but a huge opportunity in, pushing for their drive that they're trying to accomplish, whether it's reduce waste or change, dietary opportunities, and leverage that into their marketing. Now, you may disagree. I'd set that up as a completely leading question, but do you see that oftentimes in the sustainability brands, or do you see brands struggling with that?
Let me make sure I'm hearing you right. So I'm hearing the question that people launching into this sustainability space, making sure that as they're growing, they're really living in alignment with that mission.
Yeah, well, basically, not skipping the branding phase and seeing that they have an opportunity.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with you. I think there's we're so interesting. Humans are amazing. I'm like a psychology nerd. Like how we attach all this stuff. There'll just be a word, which is just a series of letters, which is just a series of sounds that we've attached to a specific meaning to communicate an idea. But then we attach this whole story with it. Branding. Oh God, ew, no, we're not. Brand, gross. Like I'm not a brand. I don't have a brand. We're here to do something. Well, brand is your friend. Brand is just like language. It's a shorthand of communicating what you're up to. And if you're trying to make a difference, if you're committed to making a difference, I would say it's probably pretty important that you know how to tell people what it is you're up to, so that the people who are also committed to being a part of that movement in their own lives, at a community level, at a global level, know that you're up to the same thing, so they can connect with you. If you don't reach them, you're making it a lot harder on yourself. Like having community, whatever term you want to use, followers, audience, consumers, whatever, it's your community. And that is how you have impact, both from a revenue standpoint and a movement standpoint.
100%. And that community aspect, in the sense of followers of your brand, very important. I can't say that I know anything on the background of their sustainability impact, but one that comes to mind is Tom's Shoes from, my high school and college era, of just the one for one movement and how much impact and movement they had behind that. Because people were clearly aligned of, my action causes this in society. Like I can do this, and this is the impact that it's going to have for the cause that I care about, which is huge. And I feel like if sustainability brands can equate that dollar spent or money spent to an investment towards something that is a bigger exchange of value than the product, they'll have a lot of good movement with their brand that way.
100%. I think, again, with story, what we attach to certain concepts, like I think money as a concept, it's just a concept. And we have a lot of meaning around it. Making money means I'm not doing good things in the world, because in order to make money, that means I have to sacrifice my ethical foundation. And no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. It can. You can do that. It's an option. But I certainly, more now than ever, that is not by any stretch a rule. You can, like conscious capitalism, you can 100% contribute a business or a product that is impacting the world and your community in a positive way and make profits.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing evil about profits if you are making them in a way that's in alignment to your mission.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you have to. I feel like you just, to function, like to continue growing, you have to make money, honestly.
Yeah.
You can
have to
give it
be a
back.
nonprofit to do good in the world.
Yeah.
That is not a rule.
Yeah. And nonprofits also make money. They do. They just,
100%.
honestly,
I work in that sector as well.
me too. They just don't pay
Lot more
taxes.
going on there than is talked about.
Yeah. There's a lot of money in nonprofits.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. There's a lot of marketing unicorns that wear many hats or founders that do a lot of things. But also, yeah, people donate money because, once again, I read a Seth Godin book when I was in the nonprofit world, because we were doing a fundraiser and I was kind of skittish on asking for like $40,000, $50,000 donations. And the Seth Godin book said every instance in life is a exchange of value. So the only thing you should focus on when you're doing that nonprofit marketing is telling the story of what is happening and giving people that value, because you're only robbing them if they don't have that value. And their $50,000 donation, that $50,000 is less to them than I was working at a men's rehab program doing things. So that $50,000 to them is less than knowing that they're reuniting a dad with the kids and the mom, right? So that was a big light bulb moment for me.
Sorry.
So what do you feel like? I know we talked a little bit about brands spreading the gamut too much and going in too many channels or too many markets, but what do you feel like some other key mistakes or just, bottlenecks brands are seeing when it comes to marketing?
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but so much goes back to story. And like I said, so much of what I do is relationship oriented, or at least that's the framework I use for what I do. And I truly believe that how we do anything is how we do everything. So, in kind of to your point of what you were saying, where, that discomfort of asking for money, or kind of having like misalignment with the steps necessary to do the thing that you say you're committed to doing. So, I think a lot of people have trouble asking for money, period, whether it's for them, for their paycheck, or a company for funding, or an organization for donation, whatever it is. You said it really well, that idea that you're only robbing someone if it's not like, if you're giving them an opportunity, right? That framework, instead of I'm asking for something, I need something from you, it's like, hey, we're up to this. This is what we are about. I know you're about this too because of X, Y, Z, and I would love to offer you the opportunity to be a part of that. So I think the bottleneck can come through funding sometimes, because of the misalignment of what that conversation can be. And again, that's still connected to messaging. I think so many brands are mission oriented these days as well, regardless of whether they're specifically, in the sustainability sector. I think we're all looking to add meaning to our lives. And so much of our lives is work. So making sure those things are connected is important. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, that's great. Yeah, that was very good. Awesome. And I close off every episode with the same 3 questions. Going to apologize to you that I didn't send you the lightning round questions beforehand. I try to keep people on their toes with these questions here. So the first one, if you had to summarize everything we discussed today in a marketing mindset, what mindset should marketers or business owners have when it comes to omnichannel marketing and growing their business?
Working smarter, not harder, making sure that you're prepped ahead of whether you're launching a company or a product is where most of the sweat equity, if you will, goes. so that you know every step you're taking is intentional, and that you are partnering with the right people to have the most impact.
Love it. If for anyone at Brighter Click that's listening, there's a phrase I say probably every day, which is we slow down to speed up, plan things out, and then move efficiently
I
with
say
it.
work backwards to move forwards. Yeah.
That's a good one as well. Yeah.
Plan forward consulting and
Yeah. For anyone that's listening that is at the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, what marketing role or roles would you say have the highest opportunity or demand in the next 3 to 5 years?
well, that's really, really interesting. I think I mean repetitive. AI is a really, really interesting ingredient right now. I'm biased. My initials are AI, so I feel like I'm already a part of this conversation. I like to say there's no hacking this AI, but I think getting familiar with any new digital tools that are coming out, finding where your predispositions are, like where your natural strengths are in those, so that you have these superpowers, I like to call them, that you're bringing to the table. Um, and knowing how to say this, not trying to be all things to all people. I think that's a mistake. I think it's not only okay, but integral to your success that you know who you are and what stories you're committed to telling and amplifying, because you will innately be better at that. Always.
Love it. Follow your passions. Love it. And last question, tell us, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about you or your business?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Ally Iseman, Iseman, and you can find me at plantforwardconsulting.com.
Cool. Ally, I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.